Tom.
Welcome, Jen. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing great. So excited for this. This is
This is
exciting.
different.
Yes, we are going live. This is I think our 18th episode of the Konik Blueprint podcast, and we thought, what the heck? Let's turn it up a notch and go live, and why not on LinkedIn, right?
Why not?
Yes. Yeah. So welcome everyone. We're super excited to have everybody here, and I would love to introduce everyone to the Konik Blueprint podcast. If this is your first episode, you can find all of our previous 17 shows on your favorite podcast player, or just Google Konik Blueprint podcast, and you'll find us. So welcome everyone. We definitely encourage everyone and anyone to post questions you might have about the job market, what hiring managers are thinking, what they're looking for in technical employees, and then any company leaders, feel free to ask what the candidates are thinking in general. We definitely would love to share our insights to both sides of our audience. So welcome everybody. We're super excited to have you on board. Welcome again to the Konik Blueprint podcast. Konik is a technical recruiting company focused on engineering, architecture, and manufacturing positions in the Midwest. We were founded in 1974 by an electrical engineer and fantastic entrepreneur, George Konik. And over the years, that has changed. Brad Konik is currently our CEO. I'm the president. And with us today is Jen Fitzke. She has been with the company for over 21 years. Give a round of applause. Last week was your anniversary, I believe, Jen?
It was in February. We celebrated it last week because we just had a little bit of a delay, but yeah.
Right. Awesome.
No big deal. I bought a house.
Yes. Yeah. We had to delay it a little bit to get the house in order first, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yes. Fantastic. Well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Feel free to grab a green beverage as you're enjoying this, whatever that might look like today for you. Relax and let's have some fun on this. And we're looking forward to discussing some items and getting to your questions as soon as possible. Jen, if you could introduce a little bit about your background, your recruiting areas of expertise, and also if you could comment a little bit about why this podcast was really your conception, your vision. It talks a little bit about the why behind the Konik Blueprint podcast.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. So for those who don't know me, Tom, I said I am Jen Fitzke. I've been with the company for 21 years, and my specialty is more on the engineering side, on the manufacturing side, as well as some consulting engineering. So on the consulting engineering, I recruit engineers and designers for building systems and lighting. So the HVAC engineers and our electrical engineers, mostly medium voltage, but do get into high and low voltage as well. In fact, I just placed a high voltage electrical engineer last night, so I should say high voltage too. And then on the manufacturing side, I'm using that term very broadly, but it could be mechanical engineers, manufacturing and process engineers, quality engineers. From the entry level stage up through the director is more of the space that I play in.
Mm.
And then why the podcast? We were looking for some ideas to just do something new. What is a space that we're not finding a lot of information in, and everybody's doing a podcast, but specifically to this one is more about our market and for us to be able to put our voice out there and see what we're finding from both our client perspective and our candidates. So we've released podcasts with for resume writing and interviewing tips. These are the ones that were more focused on candidates. And then we also did one back at the start of the pandemic. We did one on why our workspace is so important, and that speaks to both our clients and our clients being the companies and our candidates as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, we were talking just this morning a little bit about why we started this and the advantage of this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just like the opportunity to put our voice out there as what we're seeing in the market because the Midwest is very different from the coasts,
Sure.
both in terms of employers' expectations and perspective, as well as candidates' expectations and perspectives. And then even if we want to get even more granular, there's a difference in the Midwest markets between states. It's very different in Chicago,
Mhm.
for instance, than Minneapolis.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just a great opportunity for our community and for our network to come together.
right.
How many venues do you have to have both just really everybody at the table, and whether it be candidates and professionals who are just thinking about even being promoted within their own company, how can they do that, and then any technical manager, any HR manager, executive should want a little bit of insight in terms of what are candidates thinking this year in
Mhm.
terms of what's driving them, what's causing them to look, what's causing them to accept a new opportunity, what's important to them, and
Yeah.
then how do they stay? How do you keep them to stay? Keep them. We love to give advice to our both our candidate side and our managers. How do we get great employees to stay? And then that's in everybody's best interest as well. So we've had a lot of great discussions around that too. So we're excited
Definitely.
for this opportunity to just bring everybody in and ask away. So that's fantastic. A little bit about my background.
Yeah.
I think I've been with the company total, 18 years. I was with the company for about 5 years and then left for several years and then came back. So I believe it's a cumulative 18 years in total. So I've worked in different roles, primarily on the recruiting and operations side. And then over the years moved into management and currently serve as a president. So I help out the team wherever they need help, whether it be in marketing, writing, doing interviews, podcasts, presentations, whatever it need be. I'm here to help the team and support it. So been through quite a few changes over the years as a company, but as an industry too, and we can certainly get to that. A few changes over the years, right, Jen?
Just a few. I was thinking about this the other day. I started when a day after my 26th birthday, so essentially 25, and newly married, no kids. Now my boys are 19 in college. I mean, so many life changes.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yes. Well, I think one of the questions that maybe is often at the top of mind for everyone around careers and job market is just how is the market? How is the job market this quarter, this year? What is your take on what's happening out there, Jen?
It's the Wild West. I feel like, and I don't say that lightly. I said it as kind of a joke, but I don't mean it lightly. There are positions out there. We work in specialized niches, so
Mhm.
I'll have employers calling me and saying I can't find anybody, which what they're meaning is I can't find the person with the specific skills that I want
Mhm.
because the unemployment in our market for our professionals who we work with is still low. And then our candidates will come and say, I'm just not finding the right job. Well, again, what is the right job based on the skills and the experience that you have? If you're a mechanical engineer, I'm going to talk about engineering a lot because that's my space, and you want to become an architect, that's not an easy leap. You've got to go back to school and do all these things. But even within your discipline, if you're in engineering and you want to become a product manager focused on marketing, that's not an easy leap unless you've been doing some marketing aspects and customer surveys and such in your previous position. So you have to take a look at that and be realistic about where you want to go and how you're going to get there. I'm not saying you can't do it, but
Mhm.
how are you going to do it and how long is it going to take you?
Yeah, yeah. That's great. It's definitely some good insight into
Mhm.
that. Yeah, definitely. I think this year continues to be, like you said, the Wild West around so much, right? About how
Mhm.
we work, where we work, what time do we start work, and where's the actual location? Is it work from home? Is it on site? And really, it's so local, really, like individual, I guess. Some people love to be in the office more versus like me. Some people love to be at home to be there for the kids in the morning and the afternoon, and maybe to have someone come over, a contractor or something, to look at the house midday. Like what, just, nowadays we have the technology and the ability to work wherever, whenever. So people are taking advantage of that. It does create unique challenges for our manufacturing customers and candidates, where in general, the work needs to be done at a particular address within a certain time frame, right? Within a certain shift hours. So there are challenges around that. So manufacturers are getting creative on how to compete with that. But yeah, the wild west, definitely a great way to coin what we're seeing out there in so many aspects of technical careers. We have a question from Lene, and then Titus, you have one as well. Lene, we'll start with you. What advice do you have for candidates to be a differentiator for a potential employer? That is a great question, Lene. You want to try that one to start with, and I'll jump in? That's a great question.
Well, the first thing that jumped immediately to my mind is you have to find what your value add is for that employer in that position. And then resumes are still king. We're going to a lot to video interviews for introductions, especially on LinkedIn. But still, your resume has to, okay, I'm going to back up because I get really passionate about this and I'm going to start to get fired up. Okay. So for resumes, it's really important that your resume is specific to the job that you're applying for. A lot of people use these generic resumes. They use generic explanations of what they've done. They keep it to their tasks of what they've done. And while some tasks are important because you want your employer to know what you did from day to day, what's more important is what your achievements were. And so you want to make sure that those are on the resume, and your achievements are what is going to differentiate you from the next candidate who has that generic resume.
Yep, 100%.
I'll stop there because I could keep going. I get really tired.
Yes, the entire podcast in this question.
Renee, I hope that answered your question. And if you have another follow-up question, feel free to ask it.
Yeah, I would add, just it's from the candidate, I think for candidates, as they're applying to positions, they really, if it's a position they really want, and they're really excited about the opportunity, it'll help their career, and it's a company that they're super excited about. Really study that job description, and as much as you can, take time, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, to research the company and learn how your individual values and perhaps personal mission and things you enjoy align with the company, and how can you be a value add to the company's culture, to their engineering group, their construction group, what have you. How can you as a candidate provide value to that organization and that manager? And that's some of that is very easy, but research using LinkedIn, using websites, using different type of information that you can find online about a company's background, their history, the people that work there, anything you can do to gain insight in terms of how can you bring value as a candidate to that organization and that department. And if you happen to know, if you can uncover what the managers are seeking in terms of background, what skills can you bring to the table, what are they really looking for. Some of that is it's hard to find, or hard to research and find out. But if you can learn what they're really after in terms of a candidate, and then if you can present that through the application process, through the resume, then definitely do that. One thing that I would always advise, and that you do too, Jen, is when you look at the requirements, as much as you can, like you said, use your achievements and align your achievements with the requirements.
Right.
So that anyone that's looking at this, an HR person, engineering director, construction, architecture professional, anyone that's in the hiring process, they'll look at that and say, oh, this candidate has this background, they've achieved this, and this is exactly what we're looking for, asking them to do once they would join us. So great advice there, Jen.
I need to follow up with, because this is my biggest pet peeve, and it happened again yesterday. Don't copy and paste your current job description into your resume as what you do in your current job. We recognize it immediately, and those are the resumes that I'm going to put to the side, and I'm going to look at the next one. Mm-hmm. So that's why that's so important, to rely on achievements more than versus tasks, because more often than not, that's how it's read.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Well, Titus, thank you for joining us. Looks like you were joining us from India. Welcome.
Hi, Titus.
Yeah, fantastic. I love this. I love this question. I love you're joining us from India. My gosh, what time is it there? That's my question back. Late, I believe, pretty late. But thank you for joining us, Titus. Your question is: I'm a pharmaceutical quality assurance professional from India. What is the scope of getting a job in the United States or abroad? Yeah, because I'll start. It's difficult for sure to land in a position based in the United States. Of course, it's difficult for someone from the United States to land a permanent position in Canada or Mexico. Any other question? There's just a lot of immigration and work authorization hurdles to get around. Unless you find someone in that country that you can marry quickly and then speed up that process. That's not my professional advice to you, Titus, but that is maybe a faster way to do it. But yeah, and I imagine in India there are also strict work authorization requirements. You're doing the similar process with the United States. There's a lot of visa requirements, and I'll tell you, yes, it is discouraging for a candidate that's looking to find an opportunity in a different country. It's a lot of things to overlook. I mean, it's hard. I'll be very honest with you up front that it's no easy process, and you may already know that. But Jen, could you give any insight around that question? How would they, or how do they? What's a workaround? What could maybe move him in the right direction?
I have a little bit of experience with this, Titus, not helping somebody move from India to work in the US, but once they're here, there are companies, and there's a really large one, of course, I'm blanking on the name of it, that will hold your visa for you, and then they contract you out to companies. That's the only way that I've got it to work. But then that's on the contract side versus a permanent side. But that's great, because it's a high dollar job. It's a little bit more flexible. You more often than not I shouldn't say. I was going to say you would get paid overtime, but that depends on the employer that's holding your visa. But there are companies that specialize in holding visas for contractors and sending them out to engineering companies.
Yeah.
So I would look at that as an option.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Titus. You said it's about 10 p.m. there, so not as late as I thought it might be. But thank you for joining us. Appreciate the question. Great. As we wait for other questions to come in, if you could, Jen, could you chat a little bit about any open positions you have, or what's happening this week from a recruiting standpoint? What are you focused on this week for new positions, just to give the audience an idea of what's going on for you?
I should be able to answer this off the top of my head, but I'm going to my workflow. Okay. So for me, here's a cool one this is the first time I've worked on something like this, but I'm really excited about it. I have a manufacturing company in the Twin Cities in the West Metro that works with aerospace. They bring in designs from other companies, and work on them and sell them. And so what they need is a chief inspector for a repair station. I didn't know what that was, but essentially these folks are going to make sure that everything is repaired to FAA standards. And so the chief it's called the repair station. They make sure that all of that is taken care of and is done correctly. And then eventually, if the person has leadership experience, they can be given a team right away. If they want to develop into that, this team will work with them on that. Same company also needs what's called let me get this right, a senior certification engineer. Paperwork heavy, but they essentially will go through all of the paperwork for the products and make sure that all of the validations have been done and all the FAA. They work a lot with the FAA, and they have to be able to talk to the FAA rep. So those are two that I have never worked on before that I'm finding really fun and exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great.
Ooh, and I have a medical company that needs a senior manufacturer. They're here too, as well as in the West Metro, that needs a senior manufacturing engineer.
Great.
Manufacturing/process engineer.
Great. Good. Definitely gives us an idea of what you're working on. You'd mentioned earlier the Wild Wild West, and open up a can, talk about salaries. If there's anything that I would say is part of the Wild Wild West, 2022, it is salaries. It's my perspective. It's all over the board. Yes, we love salary surveys, but it seems like if a salary survey is 1 week old, it's out of date. It changes so much, and there's so much of it depends into the equation. So if you could just give us your perspective on what is happening with salaries.
They have gone up anywhere, but the ask from the candidates rather has gone up anywhere between 10 to 20% from just, practical data, our day-to-day. In the past 2 years, for instance, at the entry level, I'm just going to stick with my mechanical engineers. My entry-level mechanical engineers 2 years ago, and this is typical for the time, it's not just because of COVID. My mechanical engineers were coming out between 60 and 65 was pretty normal a year. And with edging up closer to 65 now, in the last, I'd say since about, and I know we have a lot of hiring professionals joining us today, but for me, I'm going to go back to probably this summer, our last summer of 2021. All of a sudden, we were talking like 68, 69, and now we're talking 70, 71, 72.
Okay.
I just placed an entry-level sales engineer at 68,000. I have another engineer that I'm working with who's a chemical R&D engineer. He's going to go above 72. So it also depends on the role as well. But it's like you said, it depends. It's all over. And so with especially with my entry level candidates that are, they want to go to a 40-person company that has X amount of revenue and they're asking for $75,000. And so I have to, we sit down and I talk them through, okay, if you want that, you're looking at the wrong company. You're looking at this company.
Right.
So unique opportunities to educate.
Right.
I'm doing a lot of that right now.
Yes. And for us, the way that we educate ourselves is by listening to our candidates and our managers real time. And definitely, I can't imagine there isn't any company that is facing this question. How do we be competitive? How do we keep up? How do we even know if what we're paying our employees is competitive this year? Maybe it was last year, 2 years ago, but like you said, it's a wild, wild west now. So it's really hard to keep up, and it's tough. Certainly, another full podcast we could do is just around this question of how do you stay competitive, and as a candidate too, how do you know as a candidate what my worth is, and if someone is making 80K, for example, and they've been with their company for a few years, and a review is coming up, what should they expect? What should they expect?
Because employees talk. We know this. People who are with us today, they felt this pain. They'll talk. If they started at the company 2 years ago at, 63 and Joe next to them just came in at 70, well, that they're going to be in your office.
Yeah. That's great. We have a question from Josh. Josh, thank you for the great question. I have a project management background of over 5 years and looking for new opportunities mainly in the manufacturing realm, but willing to go into different markets. Any advice on which markets have more opportunities at this time and which markets would be best to transfer to from the manufacturing market?
I'm wondering if he's talking about like going into medical or going into. I have worked a lot with project managers in particular. And Josh, I don't know if you have your PMP, but I've had people transfer into banking rather. I've had if I talk about general manufacturing a lot, it's just my differentiator between say a job shop versus a medical company. So I term that medical. Um, it depends on here. There's that term, right? It depends. It depends on your qualifications, your degree, your certifications. I have found that project managers who have their PMP can find an easier transition between industries.
Sure. Yeah, definitely agree.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think having that PMP is very it's critical. And manufacturing is pretty broad. So definitely within manufacturing and medical devices I would say medical devices going through a rebound. So many of the elective surgeries had been postponed and put on hold, but that is on the uptick again. So so that's always going well. I think that military defense may be increasing over time. There may be more growth in that area. So many areas are just doing really well. I'm trying to think of which sector of manufacturing or across our disciplines would are more or I guess busier than others in our world. Architecture is very busy. Interior design very busy. Any type of building architecture, building engineering space is growing very quickly this year as it had been last year. So, but definitely so many areas of manufacturing are continuing to grow. But anything else to add on that in terms of what niche within manufacturing or outside of manufacturing is doing better than others? It is hard to pinpoint. So many are doing so well.
And I do. Josh shared that his background is in pharmaceutical and medical device. Yeah. So I'm thinking about this is a highly regulated industry. So again, I always look at what is the least barrier to entry into that industry. So for you, for highly regulated environments, the three that come to mind for me are aviation, defense, and automotive. We have some automotive suppliers in town. So I would look at those three. In fact, the medical company that I'm working with right now that needs the project manager, I know this doesn't relate to you, Josh, but in terms of the regulated industry, the manager told me if you're not finding anybody in medical, we would look at automotive for that exact reason.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would have responded to having that highly regulated background is transferable to other industries that require the same attention to detail, FDA oversight or government regulated oversight. That having that experience in the pharmaceutical and medical industry, you have in-depth knowledge of that. That's easily transferable. So that's attractive to many companies in those sectors, like Jen mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That is great. Well, let's see. I'll pull another question while we're waiting for another one. Again, our audience, feel free to put any questions you might have in the comments. We'll pick it up. What are the top reasons engineering and AEC, architecture, engineering, construction candidates, what are they looking for when they approach you, or if you identify someone and start to have a conversation with a new candidate? Can you help the audience understand what are themes? Like, why are they looking in general?
Here's the script for the call. When I talk to somebody and I ask them why they're looking, here's what they always say: I'm looking for new opportunities and I'm looking for growth. And then I say, okay, what do your opportunities look like and what does growth mean to you? It is always money. Money starts the conversation with them, and then, as good recruiters do, you keep going because you're not going to leave your company at the end of the day for more money. If your company is going to make you a counteroffer and you like the company, if there's nothing wrong with it, you love the people you work with, you'll accept a counteroffer. So then if we get to that and I go through that with a candidate, I'm referring them back to their manager. They need to go have a conversation and then come back to me once they've had that conversation. If we get down to, I just had a conversation with a woman today who it was more opportunity, but for her opportunity meant that their distributors weren't selling her product line because it wasn't an easier sell than the company's other products. So she felt tapped out. And that's an excellent reason. That's an excellent reason because she can go to another company that is, she's a product manager that has more success selling their product line. And she can feel like she's adding more value and that her employer is listening to her in what her in the contributions that she wants to make for the product line and the company and the profitability inevitably of the company.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Money is continues to be a big driver.
Yeah. And I think as recruiters and employers, if you're talking to a candidate, that I'm just reiterating what I just said, but if they say they're looking for a better opportunity, they don't just mean a higher title and higher salary. Sometimes they do, but that opportunity can mean 10 different things.
Right. Yeah. You have to drill down a little bit and learn what that is.
Right.
What about the work from home, work on site question? What are you hearing? Opening up some different topics today, but I think both sides are curious. I'm always curious. What are candidates looking for? What are managers able to do? And again, I'm always mindful of manufacturing customers. There's only so much you can do around the flexibility nature of work. What can you say about that?
Okay, let's go all the way back to 2020, March of 2020, when we shut down and everybody went home. And we were struggling with, well, how do we keep our culture of our company alive? How do we keep it the same? I'm sorry, it's not going to be the same. It's just not, because you have other companies that are going to pivot and be more flexible so that they can capture the people that are now used to working from home. So our architecture clients, I think a lot of them are able to be more flexible just because of the nature of the work. They don't have a manufacturing shop, they don't have production where they need their engineers to be able to access and walk out to the floor to see what's wrong to help fix it or redesign a part on the fly. That's why a lot of our engineering customers have asked people to come back. A lot have come back 100%, but I think for those that can be and are willing to be more flexible, you're going to attract more employees and you're going to retain more employees. And your culture, then, the days that they're in, that's your opportunity to engage in person, because we all know that if we're in person, it's just a stronger communication. And body language, it's just different. And I understand that. But I don't think there's no back to normal. Keeps hitting my microphone. I'm sorry. There is no, in my opinion, there's no back to normal. There just isn't.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm talking to all of these employees and potential employees and former employees of companies that are telling me what's going on, whether they're struggling with the company's vaccine mandate or, in the beginning, it wasn't vaccines, it was masks. I don't want to wear a mask. Wouldn't it be great if that was our only problem now?
Right.
So it's just different.
Yeah. It's just different. I think everybody has been more flexible the last couple of years, more resilient than they ever thought possible, more open to change than they ever thought they would be. It's all part of the experience. But I think we're all better for it. But to your point, the more flexible a company can be, it just simply opens up the the pool of available candidates. And yeah, there are definitely some essential positions that just have to be on site. There's just, it's just the nature of engineering and manufacturing and construction too. I mean, you can only build a building so far until you have to be on site to build it. You know, we haven't gotten that far with our technology to be able to build something, commercial structure without people being on site. And that's where great construction professionals come in. And yeah, the same thing on the manufacturing side. So many of those roles just either need to be on site, or it's such a more efficient way to get to connect and learn what problems need to be solved. Unless you're on site, you can solve problems quicker and easier if you physically can see what the root cause is. So
my candidates, I was talking to, again, you guys, I'm sorry, but I work in engineering, so this is all of my examples. For the most part, when I ask them if they will go to the office, if they're still working at home, but for the most part, most of them still aren't 100%. They'll say, well, I want 3 days a week. And then when it comes down to it, most of them are flexible to 2. I mean, if they have an offer that's 3 days a week over 2 and the salary is the same and, same, they might choose the 3 day a week one. But if you can be flexible for that position, even for more the non-technical roles, I think that's a greater opportunity to retain people that want that flexibility.
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. Great. Well, we are running up on our 11:40 time. That went by super fast. This is our first live podcast, so appreciate everybody for sticking with us. We will get better as we move along, and we will have special guests. I'm excited for a couple of people that are in the pipeline to be a special guest next month and the following, and we may need to extend this in time to give more space for great conversation. So follow us here on LinkedIn. If you're not already, reach out to Jen. You can find her on LinkedIn, or Jen at koniknetwork.com. Same thing for me, Tom at koniknetwork.com, and I'm on LinkedIn. Definitely appreciate you being with us today. If we can help in any way, if you have a specific question for Jen or me, feel free to message us directly, whether you are a professional curious about the job market, in the job market, or if you're a decision maker, have questions about what are candidates looking for, what's the market for technical employees, let us know. We'd love to help out and answer any questions before the next podcast. Anything else, Jen?
Are you Irish?
I am not. I'm German. My Oktoberfest. That's my holiday.
There you go. I'm a little. I think we figured it out. Can you go down to a 16th? I'm either an 8th or a 16th. I can't remember. I like a Western European mutt.
Yeah. You got your green on today. I have a little bit in my.
I do. All right.
We're all Irish today. Thanks, Jen.
Appreciate joining us.
Thanks for the questions. Have a great day. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.